All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere Shalom to Yakim bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. And as you see, the lesson is entitled "The Fire is Already Kindled." Man, first week of January and prophecy is moving fast, and ultimately it's because Yahweh Bashim Shai wants prophecy to move at the pace it's moving. Man, right? We understand. The scripture says in the book of Proverbs, the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh, and as the rivers of water, um, whithersoever they run it, it's like the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right. So ultimately, a Yahweh Shema Shah is directing prophecy, to be exactly at this point of where it's at today, man. Right. So I want to go into a bunch of I should say birth pains or contractions that is going to lead unto the downfall of this place, man. I have Elder Manata Zagba's video up about Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth speaking about the Venezuela oil siege or the siege, right? Denmark from Apostle Tahar. Denmark basically saying NATO will end if Trump attacks Greenland and ICE. The ICE shooting that just occurred. I may not be able to touch on all of them, but I'll try to the best of my ability, because all of these are just heaping kindling upon the fire, right? I may not go into the Greenland, we'll see, but Lord will get into the Venezuela and the ice. We'll see. Let's see where the spirit moves. All right. This the matter of fact, I want to start off in the book of Psalms 10, and I'll start here at the top. It says, "The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined," right? Because we understand ultimately Esau Edom is going on a world tour of conquering, right? And he's doing it all by the power of the sword, right? So what he's basically telling the general public, hey, we're doing this for the population of Venezuela. We're doing this so the people won't be in a destitute position anymore. But when you talk, or when he's talking, all that you hear come out of his mouth are his plans to get rich, right? So we're gonna go into that. Matter of fact, let's grab this in the book of Psalms. Salakia 55. All right, so here we go. Lord will, you can see it. Now, I said this is from Elder Manata Zagba's channel. Subscribe and be edified, man.
Now we want to get to Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Let's listen.
Step one is the stabilization of the country. We don't want it descending into chaos. Part of that stabilization, and the reason why we understand and believe that we have the strongest leverage possible, is our quarantine. As you've seen today, 2 more ships were seized. We are in the midst right now, and in fact about to execute on a deal to take all the oil. They have oil that is stuck in Venezuela. They can't move it because of our quarantine and because it's sanctioned. We are going to take between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts Venezuela was getting. That money will then be handled in such a way that we will control how it is dispersed in a way that benefits the Venezuelan people, not corruption, not the regime. So we have a lot of leverage to move on the stabilization front. The second phase will be a phase that we call recovery, and that is ensuring that American, Western, and other companies have access to the Venezuelan market in a way that's fair. Also, at the same time, begin to create the process of reconciliation nationally within Venezuela, so that the opposition forces can be amnestied and released and from prisons or brought back to the country and begin to rebuild civil society.
Now, I want to show this, right? Because he said we're going to basically free the markets on Venezuela's oil. They were selling it at a discount rate. So now we're basically going to open the opportunity for them to get the basically the prime rate that everyone else is getting for oil. Now the question is, see, because when you listen to these devils speak, man. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna start at this book of Psalms, the 55th chapter, and the 21st verse. And it says, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords." Right, and this is how Esau Edom gets down, man. He'll give a bunch of word salad, and always make it seem like he's in the interest of those that he conquered, to give them democracy, and to give them freedom, to give them liberty, right? To take out the what they say, the leader that's been oppressive unto them. So the question is, why was Venezuela's oil sold so low? Who put sanctions in place of Venezuela so where they couldn't benefit off of that black gold, that natural resource that they had in that country, man? Because Venezuela has 30% of the oil reserves of the world, man. It controls 30% of the oil market. So there's no reason as to why this country and the people of the country, Jake, should be poor, right? Well, let's get into it, right? So, and these just are quick searches, man. Why was Venezuela's oil being sold at discounted rates? Venezuela's oil has often been sold at discounted rates because of a combination of sanctions, quality issues, financial desperation, and geopolitical constraints, rather than simple market choice, right? Basically saying, hey, these are the factors that wouldn't allow them to gain an economic foothold, right? Here's the breakdown. Number one, U.S. and international sanctions. So the main reason as to why Venezuela's oil was being discounted or being sold at discounted rates was because of the U.S. So by this devil telling you, oh well, hey now, basically saying, oh well, they've been in this position, and I'm gonna play it again. Right? He said they can't move the oil. He said they can't move the oil because it's quarantined and it's sanctioned, right? And the U.S. are the ones that put sanctions on Venezuela. So if you wanted the country to be so economically dependent, if you wanted them to thrive, why did you put sanctions on them to basically um throw away their ability to um become stronger? Because it's all about conquering for Esau Edom. See, he'll tell you this, but the people are just listening and they don't understand the history and the unrighteous decrees he set forth in order to put them in this position, man. That's why the apostles always tell us the history matters, man. Because you have to take a look at this devil's track record. The thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Matter of fact, when we go here into the book of Micah, one second, it's Micah 2. This is at the top. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. For when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. Right? And the scriptures tell you they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. Right? So it says they devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by what? By violence. That's by force, right? Let's go into this word violence. H1497, Gaza all, or yeah, Gaza all, or Gazala. One of those. I'm gonna have to check. Don't quote me. It says to tear away, to seize, to plunder, to rob, to take away by force. Is that not what they just did? They not just seize, plunder, rob, take away that natural resource by force? Force of what? Force of the sword, right? See, but he'll try to word it in a way that it makes them look innocent. Just another reason as to why Yahweh Shema Shah is going to destroy Esau Edom, man, and Babylon the Great.
We are going to take between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts.
Look, we're going to sell it at market rates, not at discounted rates.
30 and 50 million barrels of oil. We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts Venezuela was getting.
Not the discounts Venezuela was getting, as if the U.S. didn't have no hand in Venezuela having to sell it so cheap. These double-tongued devils, man. See, and you got Americans listening to it like, oh, yeah, that's good for them. Not understanding or not caring that you put Venezuela in this position. Right? So going back here, U.S. sanctions, especially from 2017 onward, restricted Venezuela's ability to sell oil to traditional buyers and access the dollar based financial system. Buyers face legal and financial risk, so Venezuela had to offer steep discounts to compensate for sanction exposure, use of intermediaries or shadow traders, and complex payment methods, barter non dollar currencies, crypto, or debit swipes. Discounts were essentially a risk premium paid to buyers, right? Now it says poor crude quality and refining costs. Now, this is nothing when you have a country backing you, able to support the infrastructure to improve the crude quality, when you have a country backing you to improve the refining costs. And Maduro said that he was willing to help or willing to make deals, with Exxon Mobil, with Chevron, so forth and so on, right? But what happens is once he showed his hand by saying, oh, we're willing to do a deal, the US said, damn, if you're willing to do a deal, we might as well take all this shit from you. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened, right? It says debt repayment to China and Russia. Large volumes of Venezuelan oil were not sold for cash, but used to repay loans from China and Russia, secure political and military backing. These deals were often priced below market or structured as oil for debt swipes, right? Because we understand oil is needed for war, whether it's to move military vehicles, whether it's to propel missiles, right? Whether it's to allow troops to travel from to and fro. Oil is very important, right? As well as what? Making sure you have a retainer in your arsenal that you can always tap into, right? Venezuela wasn't discounting oil because it wanted to. It had no leverage due to political reasons, man. Most importantly, the hammer of the earth beating them on their head. Right? This is the end time headlines.org. It says Trump says Venezuela will turn over up to 50 million barrels of oil to the US and he will control the profits. Because this is how he get down, man. This is how he get down. Going back to Psalms 10 and 3, it says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire. What is Esau's desire? World domination, new world order, a global takeover in which AI, artificial intelligence, right? And the usage of technocracy or technology are at its forefront, right? And the MOTB is established. That's his heart's desire, man. To set forth that enterprise that will never fall. Though we understand the scripture says the Most High set forth bounds that he cannot pass. But that's why he's boasting of his heart's desire. When we go into the scriptures and it says, who will take me down? Right? He really thinks he's invincible. Matter of fact, right? This Obadiah 1 and 3. And it reads, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Basically saying what? Who gonna fuck with me? Who's gonna fight against me? I have the best military. I spend the most in military funding. Everyone's scared of me. We have the natural resources. How can we be stopped? This is how he thinks, man. But ultimately, this is kindling a fire because he doesn't understand that he's moving in a way that's just going to set forth catalysts for the nations, the beast to hate the whore, right? NATO and the EU to turn on the whore, man, Babylon the Great, right? That's why the whole talks about if Trump enters in Greenland, NATO basically saying what? It's like if Denmark saying if Trump attacks Greenland, uh, NATO will end, right? That's prophecy of the beast hating the whore. Just like in the book of Daniel 5, right? When the writing the hand had the writing on the wall, right? And it said many, many tekel. And I believe tekel is thy kingdom is numbered in the balance. Matter of fact, I gotta make sure I'm saying it right. Gotta make sure I'm saying it right. 1 second. Gotta make sure. It's Daniel 5. Right, it was during the Belshazzar's feast. It's like a tekel Perez, right? I'm gonna start here. It's Daniel 5 and 24. It says, then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written, and this is the writing that was written, many, many tekel a parson. This is the interpretation of the thing. Many, Yahweh hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians, which we understand this happened because the Medo-Persian Empire took over the Babylonian Empire, right? But the first part is the point. Many, Yahweh hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. And that's where Babylon is at, man. The point of the iron, the toes mixed with the iron, miry clay, right? This is the end. This is the last captivity in which we're going to be held captive, right? So to go back here, says in a dramatic shift in U.S.-Venezuela relations, Trump announced this week that Venezuela will provide the U.S. states with millions of barrels of oil as if they have a choice, right? A move he framed as both an economic benefit and geopolitical victory for his administration. Trump said that Venezuela's transitional authorities will be turning over between 50, it's like a 30 to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil to the U.S., right? Oil that Venezuela could have sold themselves and had a foothold if their oil wasn't discounted, if sanctions from the US weren't holding them back. So they just came in and snatched it and said, yeah, that same oil we wouldn't allow y'all to sell, yeah, we're going to sell it. Yeah, we're going to use it. And you ain't going to be able to do shit about it. So if they clearly showing you there to hammer the earth, Russia couldn't have pulled the move on Venezuela that the US just did. China couldn't have pulled the move on Venezuela that the US just did. But this also shows you, with America being able to take forth Venezuela, Elder Ariella did a lesson on it, where he went into the Monroe, um, what is it, the Monroe report, right? And I did some digging into that Monroe report, and it leads into another report called the Roosevelt report, which basically states both of those reports in essence says that every large power or every large superpower split between the hemispheres can only take down the smaller nations around them, and those larger superpowers are not to interfere with the countries that they have around them. So basically, the Russia, though they had were giving weapons and things into Venezuela, Russia in essence couldn't actually inhabit Venezuela and take them over, right? But it does give Russia the ability to now take over Ukraine since the U.S. took over Venezuela. It does give China the ability to take over Taiwan since America took over Venezuela. So it's basically these invisible bounds that has been agreed upon in those two reports, right? And that's what we're seeing as well. We're seeing these larger nations, get back the war spirit, ultimately that Yahweh Bashem Shai had on them in the ancient times. That's why when we go back into the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, and it speaks about putting the hooks within Gog's jaws, right? It's basically reviving that Soviet Union spirit, man. And that's what we're going to see, because it's nothing really for Russia to, you know, uh, destroy Ukraine and take it over just by full force. But they understand that they don't need to move all that gunpowder, so to speak. They don't need to have it at gunpoint and take it over that way. It's a gradual thing. They still want certain infrastructure to be available for them to use once the takeover occurs, right? So this is all happening in the midst of what the MOTB and that technocratic, or I should say transhumanist technology being pushed at an all-time high. While you have ICE shooting people, right, which will cause what civil war in the streets. It's so much prophecy happening right now, man. So much prophecy. Matter of fact, I'm gonna come back to that in Trump. This is Luke 12, and this is 49, and it reads, "I am come to send fire on the earth." This is Yahushua speaking. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? Right? And that's the thing. The coals of the embers are already burning, right? All it takes is a little bit of kindling, a little bit of dry wood, so to speak, or a couple dry leaves to spark that fire into a full flame. The fire is already here, right? It says, but I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how am I straight until it be accomplished? Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth? I tell you, nay, but rather division. And are not we seeing division at an all-time high? It's not just in between, nation against nation, though it's part of it. You know, you have a division between men and women. You have a division between Jake and E. You have a division between red and blue. It's on every single level. No one is at peace with anyone. And that's ultimately because Yahweh Shemal Shai wanted this way for the end of this place, right? The scriptures say what? A house divided shall not stand. A kingdom divided shall not stand, but it hath an end. So the Lord is breaking all this up for the purpose of his takeover, for the purpose of this place going down with great violence. It's 52. It says, for from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And this is the thing, man. Hey, when you look at your local news, hey, in whatever state, whatever city you're in, there's, especially here in Vegas, man, there's always some type of homicide, suicide case, right? Or some type of what you call it, road rage incident. This is I've never seen it at these levels until the days that we're in today, man. So hey, it's evident that this is the end. And if you don't believe it, hey, don't. Shall your unbelief make the faith of Yahweh Shemal Shai without effect? God forbid. Yea, let the most high be true and every man a liar. So hey, you don't believe it, yeah, you'll get caught up in it. It's that simple. Continuing here, it says the shipment it's like it, that the crew will be sold at market prices with proceeds managed by him to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the U.S., which that's some bullshit too, because the people of Venezuela ain't about to benefit, and the citizens of the U.S. ain't either, right? This is coming from the book of Sirach 13, 4. It says, if thou be for his profit, he will use thee, but if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. And what did he do? He ultimately used Venezuela, wiggled his way in with Maduro, to a point where he had a decent relationship with him at a point in time. To them, him now going into that country and taking the leader, the president of that country, and kidnapping him and his wife. Says, if thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear and not be sorry for it. And what is it that he desired? He desired the oil. He desired the silver. He desired the lithium. You know, all of those resources that are held in Venezuela, man. Right? And he's doing it to what? To get him in a higher position against the rest of these world superpowers. Right? Matter of fact, let's see. One second. Yeah, this is Rock 12. I'm read 10, and it reads, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed of and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. 1 second. Okay, 37 minutes. So say him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. And that's exactly what's happening now. America is essentially seized Venezuela completely, to the point where it's a Edomite takeover over there. It says, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at thy last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast? 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, and that's the point, him saying what? To ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the US. So going back here, and though he pretend to help thee, he shall undermine thee. And that's what he has always been good at. You know, cunning, cunning hunter, man. Very deceptive. So it says, according to Trump's public statements, the oil would be transported from Venezuela storage via tankers directly to U.S. ports, with U.S. officials overseeing the process. The oil will be sold at its market price, underscoring that the revenues will be under U.S. control. And when has E ever gave a damn about anybody other than himself? Never. Right. So let's get into some more prophecy, which is ultimately this right here. Right. This from the elder brother in New York. It says ICE just shot a woman dead. This is what it means biblically.
Praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai,
I'm gonna
Bahashem,
play the
Makai
video.
Kodash. Double honor, Matthew 24. Video shows. Play this clip. And forgive me, if I'm going fast. I don't have a lot of time on my hands, so I gotta get through this. But let's just play this clip real quick.
Hey, and subscribe to the elder brother's channel, man. Subscribe and be edified. A lot of great edification coming from this page. From the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai upon this man. Woo! Just like that, man. Right? Just like that. Right? And it was an Edomite woman they killed. And you know how E feel about his own woman. If it was a nigga, it wouldn't be so hot in the news. The mayor of the city wouldn't have cussed saying ICE need to get the fuck out the city. None of that would have been said, man. But since it's one of their own, now it hit a little harder, you know? So let's go into this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start here. Out of the book of Second Edge 16, right? Because the first portion of the lesson was basically a geopolitical, dealing with what? The conflict between the US, Venezuela, Russia and Ukraine, Russia and Venezuela, China and Taiwan, right? And all of those power dynamics, right? So that's on a macro scale, right? Knowing that it's going to affect America, but it being more so the government pulling the strings. Well, this one is where the people will be getting what's the word? The people will basically get involved, right? This is Second Edge 16 and at 37, and it reads, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, within 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side." Matter of fact, let's jump up. This is up 14, and it reads, it says, "Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth." Right? Now we understand reading in Luke 12 that division, how it's affecting, all types of life, from the richest to the poorest, the man to the woman. Hey, well, you have people who are now going to this ultimately is going to spark forth division and ICE being targeted by Edomites and other people, man, right? Because they see that they don't have any consequence for their actions. They can come into any city, any state, and cause havoc. You know, they can cause chaos and havoc. Without any barrier, they can go and arrest you and your people, right? And we understand that the Northern Kingdom has been hit heavy by ICE. Hey, but you seen that they were going after the Haitians too, and that's Southern Kingdom. right? This second Edges 16, it's like a second Edges 15 and 15. It says, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And the modern day sword is the what? Is the gun, right? It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And one thing we just seen is that I believe it was JD Vance's, his crib, was I think it was shot, man, or broken into, something like that. Let me check. I know it just happened. Yeah, it says who attacked JD Vance's home in Cincinnati. Suspects arrested after the window. It's like I thought it was yeah, it says the windows broken at his house. Uh home subject of possible break-in attempt, right? And this could be staged in itself too, but nevertheless, what the prophecy says is going to happen, right? Because the modern day, the kings and princes are your governors, your mayors, your people in political power, and the general public. Hey, they're going to be growing madder and madder as the days continue, because things aren't going to go into their favor. So they're going to lash out, and the faces that they see on the news are the faces that they're going to approach, right? It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? A man shall desire to go into a city, because we understand once it gets too hectic, Esau is going to do what? He's going to set forth checkpoints. He's going to bring martial law into the cities, right? There's going to be a shutdown here in the States, right? And only those with permission to enter and exit are going to be traveling. It says, for because of their pride, and the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, right? Because once they lock down the cities, and people aren't able to navigate, or go to the grocery stores at will, go to their jobs at will, all these different things. Hey, people are going to starve out. On top of that, we see that the way that the economy is moving, silver being at an all-time high, ultimately people being evicted, people losing their jobs, people not being able to afford their groceries. I seen the brother Chappelle sent the article basically stating that every time I believe the new generation, gets a paycheck, their paycheck is gone in 2 days. Hey, well, that's not just the new generation. That's damn near all the middle class, man. They only have money for what? For bills. And even in that, they're short. So hey, here it is. Prophecy is moving, man. Prophecy is moving at an all-time high pace. And it's only the first week of January. Right? And we pray that it gets worse. Because the only way we enter into that rest is ultimately by this place being thrown down by Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, right? So, hey, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. That the fire was already kindled. Prophecy is moving. Hey, stay tuned and stay locked into the spirit, man. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Harakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of JMS Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to Yakim, bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Shalom.